My sister's assault put me in the hospital. Parents said obey or be cut off. I spoke anyway. I taste copper before I register the pain. My body lies twisted at the bottom of our basement stairs, each breath feeling like broken glass in my chest. 12 steps. I counted them once when helping Dad install the handrail last summer. 12 steps between me and the credit cards Brittany was holding when I walked in after my nursing shift. Jennifer. Brittany's voice floats down from above, that practiced note of concern that doesn't match the coldness in her eyes moments before she placed both hands on my shoulders and shoved. Footsteps thunder overhead. Dad. Mom appears first, her fuzzy slippers sliding on the concrete as she rushes to my side. Dad follows, his broad frame filling the narrow doorway. What happened? His eyes dart between us, settling on Brittany. I try to push myself up, but a stabbing pain in my ribs steals my breath. She pushed. I didn't, Brittany interrupts smoothly. She tripped carrying towels down. You know how clumsy she gets after those long shifts. Dad's face hardens as he looks at me. Is that what happened, Jennifer? I open my mouth to protest, but catch Mom's expression, that quick, fearful glance at Dad before her eyes drop to the floor. It's a look I've seen 1,000 times. A warning. We'll handle this at home, Dad announces, his voice brooking no argument. No hospitals. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. I know what handling it at home means. I close my eyes, remembering 3 months ago when Brittany hurled my anatomy textbook at my head while I studied for boards. The gash required 6 stitches, but Dad called it an accident and stitched it himself in the downstairs bathroom. When I cried from the pain, he gripped my arm tighter. Stop being dramatic, Jennifer. You're embarrassing us. Later, Mom cornered me in the kitchen, voice barely above a whisper. Just keep your head down until you finish nursing school. It's only 18 more months. 18 more months of this. 18 more months of accidents. I press my palm against my side, feeling the unnatural give of bone beneath skin. I can't breathe properly, I say, my voice steadier than I expect. I need medical attention. Dad steps closer, lowering his voice. What you need is to stop making a scene. We have the Hendersons coming for dinner. My hands tremble as I reach for my phone in my pocket. Then suddenly, they don't. A strange calm washes over me as I pull it out. I'm calling Aunt Sarah. Something flickers across Dad's face, surprise, maybe even fear. He's not used to defiance. I'm taking her to St. Mary's, Mom says, and I nearly drop my phone in shock. This is different, Robert. Dad blocks the doorway, arms crossed. Fine, but Jennifer, you tripped while carrying towels. That's what happened. Say anything else, and you can forget about our support during nursing school. The threat hangs between us. Without their help with rent, with the occasional groceries and gas money, my part-time job at the diner wouldn't stretch far enough. I'd lose the apartment, maybe even have to drop out of school entirely. Brittany smirks from behind Dad's shoulder. Daddy, will this affect my internship at Goldman Sachs? My perfect GPA can't have any complications. The emphasis makes her meaning clear. My sister, the golden child, must remain untarnished. 25 minutes later, at St. Mary's emergency room, Dr. Martinez's fingertips hover over the purple-black marks on my side. These are fingerprints, Jennifer. Not from a fall. I stare at the ceiling tiles, counting the tiny perforations as she photographs each bruise. 12 holes across, 12 stairs down. The symmetry feels important somehow. 3 broken ribs, hairline fracture of the left wrist, and these older injuries. She points to the X-ray illuminated on the wall. See these calcified areas? Previous fractures, multiple ones. Tears slide silently from the corners of my eyes, tracking cold paths into my hair. I don't bother wiping them away. I need to ask you directly. Her voice softens but remains professional. Did someone push you down those stairs? When I nod, something inside me cracks deeper than any bone. I'm required by law to report suspected abuse. Dr. Martinez's pen scratches against her clipboard. Hospital security will stay outside your door for now. The word abuse hangs between us. It seems too large for what happened, then suddenly not large enough. My family will be here soon, I whisper. Dr. Martinez squeezes my hand. I'll be here too. When they arrive, my father immediately takes control of the room, standing over my bed while my mother arranges daisies in a vase with trembling fingers. Brittany leans against the window, examining her manicured nails. Dr. Martinez stands at the foot of my bed, clipboard pressed against her chest like armor. The injuries Jennifer sustained are inconsistent with a simple fall while carrying towels, she says. The pattern and placement of bruising indicate she was pushed with considerable force. Father's face hardens. Are you suggesting someone in our family hurt her? I'm stating medical facts, she replies evenly. X-rays also show multiple previous fractures in various stages of healing. This is absurd. Father's voice drops to that dangerous quiet I know too well. I sit on this hospital's board. I've contributed significantly to the new cardiac wing. Perhaps you should consider your position carefully before making unfounded accusations. Dr. Martinez doesn't flinch. The evidence isn't unfounded, Mr. Walsh, and my position is as Jennifer's physician, not as your employee. Jennifer has always been clumsy, Mother interjects, arranging and rearranging the same daisy. She falls all the time. Brittany snorts. Besides, if something did happen, she probably deserved it. Always being the perfect daughter, perfect student, perfect everything. It gets old. The room falls silent. Dr. Martinez writes something on her clipboard. Father steps between them. My daughter said no such thing. And this conversation is over. He turns to me, lowering his voice. Jennifer, this ridiculous story puts your nursing career at risk. What hospital wants a nurse who invents abuse allegations? If this becomes public, your career is finished before it starts. The threat lands exactly as intended. 2 years of nursing school, thousands of dollars in student loans, countless sleepless nights studying, all potentially wasted. Not to mention, he continues, without our financial support, you'll be homeless by next month. Your diner job barely covers groceries, let alone rent in this city. Mother places her hand on mine, her touch light as tissue paper. Sweetheart, please. This is all a misunderstanding. A knock at the door interrupts the standoff. A woman with close-cropped gray hair and a detective's badge enters. Detective Lisa Rodriguez. I'd like to speak with Jennifer alone. But would speaking up cost me everything I'd worked for, or would staying silent cost me something even more valuable? After my family is escorted to the waiting area, Detective Rodriguez pulls up a chair. She doesn't rush me, doesn't push. She simply listens, recording everything methodically as I describe what happened, not just today, but all the other accidents that weren't accidents at all. The relief of being believed without question is almost as painful as my broken ribs. We'll need you to come to the station when you're discharged to make a formal statement, she says, closing her notebook. In the meantime, we're filing a preliminary report. As I lay in that hospital bed, watching my family prepare to sacrifice me again for their image, I realize I'm facing an impossible choice. Security with conditions, or freedom with uncertainty. 6 weeks later, I'm back at work at Maple Grove Community College's nursing program when the email appears in my inbox at 6:43 a.m. My father's name gleams at the top of the recipient list, a special faculty meeting to review concerning patterns of academic misconduct allegations. The euphemism for Dr. Martinez's career assassination, barely disguised. Did you see this? Dr. Martinez appears beside me in the hospital cafeteria, her normally composed face tight with anger. Your father works fast. My stomach knots as I scan the rest of the email. I'm sorry. This is because of me. No. Her voice turns firm. This is because of him. There's a difference. I nod, but the weight on my chest only increases when 2 nursing instructors walk past, their conversation dropping to whispers when they spot me. One glances back with what looks uncomfortably like pity. That afternoon, my program director, Dean Thompson, calls me into his office. He doesn't offer me a seat. Your parents contacted me with concerns about your stability, he says, studying a folder rather than meeting my eyes. They mentioned a history of exaggeration, emotional problems. The words hang between us like poison. Brittany's handiwork, surgical in its precision. I see. My voice sounds distant to my own ears. Under the circumstances, perhaps you should consider a leave of absence. A leave would validate their claims, I say, surprised by my steadiness. I'm not unstable. I'm injured. He finally looks up, assessing me through narrowed eyes. Political situations like this get messy. The board has significant influence over our program funding. My phone buzzes as I leave his office. Mother's 7th voicemail today. I listen to her tearful accusations about tearing apart the family as I walk to my Honda Civic, each step a reminder of what family has cost me. Apartment hunting with broken ribs becomes its own special torture. Each staircase, each doorway to inspect sends daggers through my side. The cheapest place I can find costs twice what I'd budgeted. Without my parents' help, my diner wages stretch tissue paper thin across rent, utilities, and the sudden expenses of starting over. At night, I curl around my pain in a Motel 6 that smells of industrial cleaner and stale cigarettes. The front desk clerk eyed my bruises with knowing sympathy when I paid for the week in cash. "Leaving somebody, honey?" she'd asked. I'd nodded, the truth of it settling into my bones. I am leaving somebody, the version of myself that believed family loyalty required my silence. But could I survive the cost of finally speaking my truth? The sideways glances from classmates grow more obvious each day. Whispered conversations halt when I approach. Sarah Chun, who usually partners with me for clinical rotations, suddenly finds other arrangements. Someone left a pamphlet about mental health services in my locker, the word delusions circled in red pen. I begin carrying a small notebook, documenting every interaction with precise times and witnesses. My phone fills with saved voicemails, mother's tearful manipulations, father's thinly veiled threats. During a faculty meeting where assignments are distributed, I position my phone to record when Dean Thompson accidentally assigns me to the most demanding clinical rotation 3 weeks in a row. Administrative error, he claims when I question it. His eyes slide toward the door where my father often enters for his rounds as a board member. "I'd like that corrected, please," I say, holding his gaze until he looks away first. Back in the locker room, my hands shake so badly I can't work the combination lock. The adrenaline crash leaves me lightheaded, leaning against the cool metal. When I finally get the door open, a brown paper bag sits on my folded scrubs. Inside, still warm coffee and a turkey sandwich wrapped in wax paper. A sticky note in Dr. Martinez's handwriting reads, "Some days we just need to be reminded we're not fighting alone. Your courage matters." I eat slowly, savoring each bite, the first food in days that doesn't taste like fear. The hospital chapel remains empty most afternoons. I sit in the back row, finding strange comfort in its silence after clinical rotations end. Today, the door opens just as I prepare to leave. Mother slips in, her eyes red-rimmed, her hands clutching her Chanel purse like a shield. "Jennifer," she whispers, sliding into the pew beside me. "Please, can we talk?" I shift away, the movement pulling at my still-healing ribs. "Can't you just say you were confused?" she pleads. "Your father built this life for us." "He built a life where Brittany could hurt me without consequences," I say, the words emerging with surprising clarity. "I'll talk to your father," she promises, reaching for my hand. "If you drop the charges, things can go back to normal. We can be a family again." The familiar bargain, my safety traded for their comfort. How many times have I accepted this transaction? I stand despite the pain, looking down at her hunched figure. I became a nurse to help people heal. I can't help anyone heal if I can't even protect myself. Her face crumples. "You don't understand what you're doing to us." "I understand exactly what you've done to me." The revelation feels like oxygen after years underwater. "And I won't let you do it anymore." The following week brings unexpected allies. Dr. Martinez testifies before the hospital ethics committee, methodically presenting my x-rays and documentation. "These injuries are inconsistent with a fall while carrying towels," she says, pointing to the fracture patterns. "They are, however, entirely consistent with being forcefully pushed downstairs." Detective Rodriguez provides a protective escort when I return to my parents' house in Westchester to collect essential belongings. "Take your time," she says, positioning herself between me and my father's thunderous glare. "I've got nowhere to be." While my family demands silence as proof of love, these strangers offer me protection without conditions. That evening, I call Aunt Sarah from the motel parking lot. Rain drums against the roof of my car, matching the pounding of my heart. Jennifer, she answers on the first ring. I've been waiting to hear from you. I need a place to stay, I say, the admission burning my throat. Just until I figure things out. My guest room is yours for as long as you need, she says without hesitation. I've already made up the bed. Would having someone in my corner finally be enough to see this through? Aunt Sarah's kitchen table transforms into our war room. Medical records fan across the oak surface as I organize them by date, photographs of injuries paired with hospital reports. Sarah's meticulous notes about my accidents over the years fill a 3-ring binder. Dates, times, explanations my parents gave her, and her observations. You've been documenting all this time? I ask, flipping through pages spanning back to high school. Sarah's lips form a tight line. I tried reporting once. Your father convinced everyone I was a jealous sister-in-law trying to cause trouble. She taps the binder. So I started keeping records, waiting for when you were ready. Detective Rodriguez calls that afternoon, her voice steady. We're filing charges against Brittany. The DA believes we have enough evidence to make assault with intent stick. I grip the phone tighter. And my parents? The investigation continues. Child Protective Services is concerned about the long-term pattern, even though you're an adult now. After the call, I meet with my attorney, Patricia Williams. She spreads our timeline across her desk, 15 accidents in 4 years, escalating in severity. You've built a solid case, Patricia says. The evidence doesn't lie. For the first time since the fall, I feel my spine straighten. My father strikes before the week ends. Dean Thompson calls me into his office, his expression grave. Your father contacted the board about your situation. He folds his hands on the desk. He suggested your continued presence might disrupt college operations. My stomach drops. Years of sacrifice, crushing student loans, all for nothing. I understand if you need to remove me from the program, I whisper. Dean Thompson's eyebrows shoot up. Remove you? Jennifer, I'm placing you on academic leave with full support services until this is resolved. He leans forward. Your father doesn't control this department. I blink back tears of relief. 2 days later, Brittany appears in the college lobby during my brief return to collect textbooks. Campus security intercepts her before she reaches the elevator. I just want to talk to my sister, she shouts, loud enough for everyone to hear. Officer Jackson steps between us. Ma'am, you're violating a restraining order. Brittany's face contorts. This is ridiculous, she's my sister. The next morning, my phone buzzes with a text from Patricia. Judge has added additional restrictions. No contact through third parties. Minimum distance increased to 500 feet. At a nursing conference downtown, I spot 2 board members who've always supported my father. They see me, exchange glances, and change direction. Word spreads quickly in academic circles. When my attorney asks if I want to pursue maximum penalties 2 days later, I hesitate. Would justice mean seeing them punished, or would finding my own path forward be the greater victory? Dr. Martinez organizes an unexpected show of support. 8 colleagues from different departments sign sworn statements about my professional conduct, character, and the injuries they've noticed over time. We've seen the bruises you tried to hide, Dr. Martinez says quietly. The concealer covering that black eye last Christmas didn't fool anyone. Aunt Sarah reveals her documentation to the prosecutor, who calls it exactly the pattern evidence we needed. The timeline grows more damning. 19 incidents over 6 years, each one dismissed, minimized, or hidden. My phone fills with messages from nursing classmates. Whatever clinical hours you need covered, I'm here. We believe you. Take all the time you need. The college board meets in emergency session. Father's attempts to leverage his position against me trigger an ethics investigation into abuse of authority. He's temporarily removed from committee assignments pending review. At Sunday brunch with Aunt Sarah, my phone lights up with Mother's number, but I decline. Your father's colleagues won't look him in the eye anymore, Sarah says, watching me debate answering. Helen Morrison cancelled their book club last night, first time in 12 years. The call goes to voicemail. 10 minutes later, Sarah's phone rings instead. She answers, her expression shifting from surprise to concern. Linda, calm down. Yes, she's here. No, I don't think that's a good idea right now. She glances at me. We all make mistakes, Lynn. Some just have bigger consequences. After she hangs up, Sarah reaches for my hand. Your mother's crying, says she might have made mistakes. I stare out the window. 25 years of mistakes. The court date arrives next week. I'll face them all together, father, mother, Brittany, for the first time since that day at the bottom of the stairs. The thought sends ice through my veins. But when I check my reflection, I notice something different. The woman staring back stands taller, shoulders squared instead of hunched. Her eyes hold steady. Would I finally find my voice when it mattered most? The day before the courtroom hearing, my parents demand a meeting. I arrive at Starbucks on Main Street with Patricia by my side, my heart hammering against my ribs as I spot them in the corner booth. The space feels too small, the air heavy with tension. My father sits across from me, his posture military straight, while my mother fidgets with her pearl bracelet, adjusting it for the 5th time. Through the window, I watch people living normal lives, their voices a distant hum of normalcy I barely remember. We want to resolve this before it goes any further, father says, his professional tone almost convincing. He slides a manila folder toward me, a settlement offer. I don't reach for it. Weeks ago, I would have lunged for this lifeline. Now, I let it sit between us like the trap I know it is. Your nursing school tuition paid in full, plus a monthly stipend. He continues, tapping the folder with his manicured fingernail. Enough to secure a nice apartment near campus. Mother leans forward, her perfume washing over me. We're family, Jennifer. Family matters should stay private. Private, I repeat. The word tastes bitter. Like the medical records you accessed without permission? Father's jaw tightens. I have connections at that college, you seem to forget. One phone call about your emotional instability during your board exams next month could. Robert, mother whispers, placing her hand on his arm. He shrugs her off. Jennifer needs to understand what's at stake. I understand perfectly. My career, my future, everything I've worked for balanced on the edge of his influence. But something changed when I fell down those basement stairs. Something broke loose when my ribs did. I reach into my bag, movements deliberate, unhurried. The manila envelope, I pull out matches there's in every way except for the contents. I slide it across the polished table. What's this? Father asks, not bothering to open it. Letters of support from the college administration. I keep my voice level as I watch his expression shift. The ethics committee cleared me of any academic concerns last week. They found your attempts to access my records and pressure my instructors particularly interesting. Mother's hand flies to her mouth. Jennifer, you didn't. I also have this. I place a second letter beside the first. The nursing director has offered me a position in their new trauma-informed care program after graduation. Full scholarship for my master's degree. Father's fingers curl into fists. The vein in his temple pulses as he scans the letterhead, the signatures. I recognize the moment reality sets in, he's lost control of the narrative. I don't need your money, I say, standing slowly. I never needed your approval. My voice doesn't shake. My hands remain steady. The realization hits me like a physical sensation. I'm no longer afraid of them. Father rises, looming over the table. You're making a terrible mistake. No, I say, walking toward the door. I'm finally correcting one. Mother begins to cry, silent tears tracking through her foundation. Not for me, for the consequences finally catching up to them. Jennifer, please, she calls after me. I don't look back. The next day, the courtroom feels cavernous. Light streams through tall windows, illuminating dust motes that dance in the air. I sit at the plaintiff's table, Aunt Sarah on one side, Dr. Martinez on the other. Their presence steadies me more than the chair beneath me. Across the aisle, Brittany stares at her hands. Father whispers urgently to their attorney. Mother looks anywhere but at me. When Judge Harrison calls me to testify, my legs carry me forward without hesitation. The oath feels solemn and right on my lips. I speak clearly as I describe the pattern of abuse. The textbook incident that required 6 stitches. The falls that somehow always happened when Brittany was angry. The broken fingers from kitchen accidents during finals week. Dr. Martinez's medical documentation appears on screens throughout the courtroom. X-rays of my ribs, photographs of finger-shaped bruises, healed fractures that tell their own silent story. "Why are you pursuing this case, Ms. Walsh?" the prosecutor asks. I look directly at my family for the first time. "I'm here because nurses protect people who can't protect themselves. Including me." Brittany crumples forward, her shoulders shaking. When presented with time-stamped text messages showing her intent before shoving me, she breaks down completely. "She was always so perfect," she sobs. "Dad always compared me to her. I just wanted her to fail at something for once." The gavel falls with a crack that echoes through the courtroom. It sounds like freedom. But as I stood there victorious, I wondered, was this the end of my story, or just the beginning? 6 months later, morning sunshine streams through Aunt Sarah's kitchen windows as I sip coffee at the breakfast nook. The aroma of blueberry pancakes fills the air, a stark contrast to the tense silence that used to accompany my family breakfasts. "Ready for your presentation?" Aunt Sarah slides a plate in front of me, her salt and pepper hair catching the light. "I've rehearsed it 5 times. I touch my side, an unconscious habit, though my ribs healed long ago. "Still nervous?" Sarah laughs, the sound warm and unrestricted. The college's star nursing student, nervous about speaking to a room of medical professionals. I smile despite myself. In 6 months, I've grown accustomed to conversation without walking on eggshells, to laughter without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Later that afternoon at the regional healthcare conference, I stand before a room of colleagues. My hands remain steady as I click through slides, showing injury patterns consistent with domestic abuse. The signs are often there, I tell them, my voice clear. A patient who minimizes injuries. Explanations that don't match the trauma. Multiple healed fractures in various stages. From the back row, Aunt Sarah records the presentation on her phone, pride evident in her posture. When I finish to generous applause, Dr. Martinez gives me a subtle thumbs up from the front row. 2 weeks later, I recognize the look immediately. My patient, a woman in her 20s with suspicious bruising around her collarbone, avoids eye contact while explaining how she walked into a door. I pull up a chair instead of standing over her, lower my clipboard, create space for truth. "Sometimes injuries tell a different story than the one we're ready to share," I say softly, remembering my own rehearsed explanations. "Whatever that story is, I'm here to listen." Her eyes fill with tears. "My boyfriend." I reach for her hand, not as a nurse, but as someone who understands. Sometimes the bravest thing we do is tell our truth, even when those who should believe us don't. She nods, a barely perceptible movement. I slide a resource packet toward her, the same one Detective Rodriguez helped me develop for the hospital. That evening, Aunt Sarah hosts a small dinner gathering at her suburban home. Dr. Martinez brings her famous chocolate cake. Detective Rodriguez arrives with case files tucked under her arm, always working. David, a physical therapist I met during my recovery, brings sunflowers that match the yellow walls of Sarah's dining room. I notice how he pulls out my chair, his fingers lightly brushing my shoulder in a gesture that asks permission rather than assumes it. Sarah raises her glass of sparkling cider. "To healing that comes from being truly seen and believed." The words settle around us like a blessing. The following Monday, I hang my nursing degree in my new office at St. Mary's Community Health Center. Beside it, a letter confirming my acceptance to the master's program in trauma-informed care, full scholarship included. My phone buzzes with a text, Mother, not asking for forgiveness, but sharing that she started therapy and has moved into her own apartment across town. The message ends with, "When you're ready, if you're ever ready." That evening, Aunt Sarah and I walk through Central Park, our arms linked as joggers pass by on the tree-lined paths. The setting sun filters through autumn leaves, painting everything copper and gold. "Have you thought about your mother's message?" she asks. I watch a child chase pigeons, her laughter echoing off the trees. As I consider what forgiveness might look like, I wonder if it's about welcoming people back into your life, or if it's sometimes just about releasing yourself from the weight of anger so you can move forward freely. I think, I say slowly, forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing not to let it define what happens next. Sarah squeezes my arm gently, understanding that some questions need time before answers can form. As we head home, I realized that breaking free from my family's expectations didn't just save my life, it gave me a purpose. Every patient I help find their voice, every story I believe without question, every hand I hold in that moment of truth-telling becomes part of my healing too. The girl who once counted stairs to distract from pain now counts the ways she can help others climb out of their own darkness. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough. Some stories end with justice served. Others end with freedom found. Mine ended with both, and the understanding that sometimes the family you choose becomes more powerful than the one you were born into. The taste of copper is gone now, replaced by something sweeter, the taste of truth finally spoken, and a life finally fully mine.